What's happening, YouTube? Today's video is a little bit different. This is a reaction video of a race that I've already completed. The reason for this is just to maybe explain a little bit of the journey so far. So the first couple episodes was each and every race that I did in these ranked lobbies, and I was commentating live as I was racing, and it was a little bit distracting. It's a new skill to kind of learn. It's talking and driving and trying to figure out how to improve lap by lap, and commentating at the same time was just very difficult. So I went off and did quite a number of races without commentary, without recording, you know, my face over here, and without recording commentary on the video live. And I ended up doing quite a few races like that, just to, I think maybe just to like not put content out there that was boring. You know, not much actually happened in those races. I would, let's say, qualify 15th and then I'd finish 15th, or I'd qualify 15th and, you know, like gain 1 or 2 places or lose 1 or 2 places just because of people being in the pits or myself going into the pits. So there was nothing really interesting that happened, so I just felt no need to sort of put that out there and show that as part of the journey. I can rather sum it up in one sentence to say that the last couple of races were boring. However, I had this absolute, I would say, scorcher of a race where I actually did quite well in some difficult situations. As you can see here, there's 3 in a row going into this corner. Someone else has just crashed in front of us. Like, this was an exciting race that I wanted to share. Obviously here we crashed out, got knocked into, and somebody else then knocked into the car while spinning out. So a lot happened in this race, and that's why I wanted to go back, add some commentary on this video and release this video. Going forward for the channel, I really want to focus on data analysis. I think that's the thing that is most interesting for me and where I really want to spend more time. So I'm going to share like fewer videos relating to this journey from novice to pro, but we are going to still keep that kind of objective for the channel. However, it's going to be more about the data itself and what we can learn from the data. So going forward, there's going to be more data related videos where we look at the racing lines, we look at the oversteer, understeer, the balance of the cars, etc. Anyways, with that 3-minute introduction out of the way, in this race I think I qualified around about 16th, somewhere around there, and gained a couple places, lost a couple places due to a crash. And this is where things start to get interesting, where we claw back and we start to do some overtakes and some cool maneuvers on the track. So I just want to take a second to chat about the setup of the car. It's very different to my previous videos. So in the previous videos, I literally just got the McLaren 720S Evo, and I selected the aggressive setup for that car. I did not change tires, I did not change fuel, I changed absolutely nothing. In this video, or in this period of kind of racing, trying to get better, and with nothing really happening, I just felt I needed to look into the setup a little bit more. And what I found is that the setup was just not conducive to a fast race. So I made some adjustments to aero, to the balance of the car, the ride height and things like that. I don't know enough about it just yet. It's something that I'd like to, in the future, do a video on. But maybe just to give a high level, the brake bias I reduced from 58 to 53. The ABS, I turned that down from 6 to 3. Then And then the traction control, I turned that down from 6 to 3 as well. And as you can see, I got a really nice overtake there. Really been working on that first 2 turns and how to maximize traction and speed through those corners. And so far holding the position quite well. And what you'll notice shortly is going around this corner is I reduced my traction control to 0 for that corner specifically, because it's what I realized watching some replays back from some of the other high performers on the track. They were reaching a top speed at the end of the straight of like 286. So previously, before this setup, the car would actually max out at 276. So there was a 10 kilometer per hour difference at the end of that straight. And it made me realize, yeah, the setup is just not right. So hence I started to work on the setup, improve the aero to maximize the top speed and straight line speed for this track specifically. So that's what I've optimized for because of that straight. It's a very important straight. You gain a lot of speed there, and if you are 10 kilometers per hour different to the cars around you at the end of that straight, you're losing like possibly half a second to a second in lap time just because of that. So spent a bit of time refining those, and even now they've changed even further. As you can see, I go for the inside line here, late on the brakes, go down to second, go for the switchback, and it was successful. I felt really proud of that overtake. It was just really well seen that he was on the outside, and because he was on the outside, the next corner he would be on the inside, lose traction because of that curb, and push out to, you know, off the track. So I kind of waited on the throttle there for the switchback. And yet again on this straight, as you can see, traction control down to 0 and just hammering that throttle. Before the changes to the setup, my lap time was roughly 158, 159. That was sort of the range, like between 158 and 2 minutes was sort of the lap times that I was getting. And my top speed at the end of the straight was 276, so I've improved that now to roughly 279, 280. If I can get a slipstream, then I can get well over 280. But as you can see, my lap times here are about a second quicker because of the changes in the setup. So it's something that I'm going to dive into a little bit more to understand it myself before I make a video on it. And then, yeah, then we'll do a video explaining all the different setups and what I find is more helpful. Look, with a less draggy car, you have less downforce in the corners, so it did make, you know, those tighter corners and the fast corners a little bit more difficult. So as you can see here in these types of corners, you don't have as much traction, so you've got to be a little bit more gentle on the throttle. With braking, it seems to be okay because you are changing the pitch of the car. As you brake, it goes forward, and so it does catch on the wing, and you do still get quite a lot of downforce in your braking. But as soon as you hit that throttle and the car lifts, that's when you start to lose it. But as you can see on the straights, lap after lap, as I'm getting locked in with the setup, I'm slowly improving the lap times. And again, it's mostly because of the straight. This straight is a good 20 seconds of the race. So you can imagine if you constantly increasing your speed by 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers per hour, you're going to end up significantly further ahead than than before. And it's a very important section of the track that you need to optimize for. And part of it is balance, right? You can overcompensate and become so fast on that straight, no drag at all, no downforce, and you maximize that straight line speed on that straight. But you do that at the risk of losing time in all the corners. So it's about balance and finding the right amount of downforce and the right amount of the right level of the car, that pitch and all of that we speak about. It's about finding the right level so that through the corners you're stable, you're able to stay on track, get some good grip and really accelerate quickly. But in the straights you also need to have your resistance reduced so that you can maximize your straight line speed. So it's a very interesting science, but maybe it's more of an art than anything else. So again, we overtook that BMW in the last lap on the straight. So this race went really, really well. As you can see on the straight, traction control is off the entire time. At this point, I don't know if it makes a difference. My thinking is that as there are gear changes, having traction control might reduce your revs when you're at the upper end of your rev limiter. So I just decided to keep it off completely on that straight, and then as we approach that sort of 200 mark, 250 mark, approaching that last corner after the straight, I then reactivate my traction control, bring it back up to the number 3, and then I just keep it on 3 for the remainder of the race. So this corner, it's also really interesting how the track evolution is different. In F1 I always thought track evolution meant the track ended up with more rubber on the road, and therefore you would end up with far more grip as the track evolves. But in this game it seems to be the opposite. As the track gets more rubber in the tarmac, you actually end up sliding way more. It could be that, or it could be that other cars are crashing, picking up dirt, and then when they go over that rubber that's stuck to the track, then you lose grip because of it. This corner is notorious for that. This braking point here is notorious for it, and so is that corner. This corner is all about getting your foot on the throttle as soon as you can without losing grip, and again reducing that traction control so that you're not limited on the exit of that final corner. That's again just pointing to how important this straight actually is, and it's so interesting because it's probably the most boring part of the track because you're just straight for 20 odd seconds, but in reality it's the most important. That final corner before the straight and the corner after the straight, so important to have a good corner exit and a good corner entry for this corner. I do find on that corner there that going up onto the curb does help pitch the car in the right way, that you can get a lot of grip on the exit. So I do like to hit that curb. This curb I don't like to hit because it's very easy to lose the car, and you also again want to get going on the throttle as quickly as possible. As you can see from the lap times, I'm doing really well here, 157 on average, so it's quite competitive. After reviewing the data for the last couple races that I've had, and looking at basically all the best sections of the track, I've realized that if I get everything right, if I execute everything right, I could get 154, a 154, which is encouraging that I'm doing the right things, but I'm just not executing that consistently. To be 2 to 3 seconds now away from my theoretical best is something that needs work. The other thing I see people doing on that straight is they move onto the outside curb and line too quickly, and so they pick up a lot of extra rubber. So I try and keep that to about the 150 meter mark, just so that I can get onto the side without rotating too much and losing and reducing speed, but then also not picking up all those shards, if I could call them shards. This corner here also gets so dirty, and it becomes very, very slippery as time goes on. But we've got 4 minutes left of this race. As you can see, we went from P16 all the way down to P7. Had a couple fantastic overtakes, really thrilling and somewhat satisfying. It's really satisfying when you're in a race, you're really pushing it to the limit, and you see these opportunities in front of you and you get a good overtake. There's nothing more satisfying than that. It's like all the hard work finally paying off. So on that corner as well, if you cut it a little bit to the left, you actually don't lose the car as much. So I think the curb actually does this. So if you're hitting your left tires in the middle of that, you're going to lose balance on the car and it's going to jump. But if you cut it where the tires go here, you then keep control throughout the corner. Or if you hit it here, if you hit the curb here, you also keep control throughout. So it's just something to be aware of. Try not to go into the middle of that curb. You want to try and go either far on the left or far on the right, and it will keep the balance throughout. So it's all about keeping that traction for as much of that corner as you can, because that corner is so important. As you can see, the track is looking a little bit brown from the dirt. So I do think it's probably getting slippery because people are hammering these corners, and then essentially other people who go off the track and then follow that line end up putting more dirt on the track. Just a slight lift off the throttle there, keep the car again with the maximum grip, and then full on the throttle. Hard braking, fast right, down to first, keep the line nice and tight. Easy trail braking with a very light entry. Keep speed to a minimum here so you can maximize that throttle release. Again, too much curb there. And as time goes on, that corner becomes far more difficult to get rotation. Again, because of that track evolution and dirt getting onto the track. So through that corner, as time goes on, you want to be a little bit more cautious, slower on the brakes, slower release on the brakes, slower into the turn. So sometimes, like what I do is I don't yank it like this. I just go slowly and then go into it. Good rotation here. A little bit of oversteer there. And as we go into our final lap here, as you can see, somebody was in the pits. So we got a P6. This was the best result that I've got so far. Even after this race, I've had quite a number of races on this track and not really getting much closer to P6. I'm sitting at around the P11, P12 mark pretty consistently, which is good. Definitely much better than the last couple videos that I've put out there where I'm in the sort of 20s, early 20s. So it's really rewarding to see the progression and see that I'm getting faster and doing better in these lobbies. Lots of rotation into that corner, a bit of oversteer. And at this point in the race, I am just trying not to mess up because I can see on my mini-map that I've got cars behind me fairly close, one corner away. And in front of me, the guys are a little bit further than the guys are behind me. So at this point, I'm just trying to keep the distance, try and not mess up, and ultimately finished 6th. So that's a fantastic result, definitely a lot better than what we were getting. And so it's been an interesting journey. It's been an interesting journey, but we're getting there, definitely getting there. So stay tuned for future videos. Like I said, we're going to go into data deep dives, looking at the data, looking at the racing lines, braking, throttle release, and these types of things so that we can improve. So stay tuned for that and look forward to the future races that come, where P6 will hopefully one day seem like a loss and P1 is more of a win for us. But as of right now, I'm going to enjoy the P6.